yourselves ready to put out the best of yourself in terms of the campaign which you're working on, so as to increase the chances of you achieving your funding goal, because that's the purpose of AMRE Finance. Today, we are going to have a presentation from Henry Shelton. Henry Shelton is a co-founder of AMRE Finance. He lives in Texas, USA. He's an African American. Henry Shelton has an IT engineering background, but over the past decade, he has pivoted into business incubation, coaching, and marketing. So today he's going to get out of his arsenal one of his finest of skills around coaching. He'll be presenting to us something called Ikigai. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what Ikigai stands for. I'll leave it to him to do that presentation. But Henry is very passionate about impact, because he believes that it is by creating impact that you can really achieve your purpose in life, which is one of the reasons why he decided to be part of AMRE Finance. So without much ado, Henry, I'd leave you to start off with your presentation.
Well, thank you, Jean-Paul, for that introduction. And good afternoon, and in y'all's case, good evening, everyone. I'm in the USA, so it's afternoon for me, but good evening to y'all. And as Jean-Paul said, this whole thing of purpose and impact is near and dear to my heart. So on that note, when I saw this term, Ikigai, come up, it immediately caught my eye. So let's just jump right into what does Ikigai mean, and what does it have to do with impact funding? So the term Ikigai is a Japanese concept that combines the term Iki, meaning alive or life, and Gai, meaning benefit or worth. So when the two terms are combined, these terms means that which gives you your life worth or meaning or purpose. And so Ikigai is similar to the French term raison d'être, or in English, reason for being, right? So this diagram here sort of shows you where the various aspects of your being meets and helps us find that sweet spot in the middle, called our purpose, our passion, our reason for being. And it's basically the intersection where that thing that you love in life, which Doreen was talking about and showed so passion for, is helping individuals to find direction in their life, and which ultimately becomes your own mission. And where that meets what you are good at doing, and also what the world needs. And ultimately, when you are able to combine those things and find a way to make it into a profession or a vocation and get paid for it. So where those four areas of your being and your life meets, therein lies this concept of your reason for being, or Ikigai, the Japanese term. Now, what does that have to do with impact funding? And what does it have to do with, and why is AMRE Finance talking about it? So by now, everyone's familiar with our creator's experience, or our creator's journey map, right? So our focus, and the focus of this presentation, is going to be today on connecting this whole life purpose thing, this Ikigai, with this theory of change piece here under incubation. And most of you know that incubation is a part of what we offer in the AMRE family of services on the AMRE platform. So once you've created your campaign, and once all of that and yourself has been verified, then we go into this incubation process. And here we start, and actually we don't start talking about the theory of change here. We helped you to flesh it out, to help you to refine it, to expand it, because truly you're going to be talking about it here when you're entering your basic campaign information. And I'll get into that. So as I said, we're going to focus on this one component, incubation, and we're going to talk about the theory of change. And basically, this is the process of mapping out the detail, how you expect change to happen. And then we're going to talk about and this is typically tied to, by the way, your vision and mission, and ultimately your value proposition. So this is why we have the whole thing with the market opportunity, business model, and the economics team. And so we'll outline this in 5 simple steps here shortly. And to give you an idea of what those 5 steps look like, here they are. First and foremost, you're going to start with your mission. You know, aside from making money, what is it that's driving you? What are you doing this for? The thing that makes you want to jump out of bed in the morning, not just to make money, but it gives you purpose in life. Again, the Ikigai. And the second thing you're going to do is determine the need for change and your vision for solutions. So Doreen articulated a little while ago that due to some of the civil strife that's been ongoing in the Southwest region, it's kind of created some instability and some uncertainty and some trauma in the minds of the younger ones there. And in her case, her focus seems to be the female gender. But I also heard her say she has a heart for everyone. So her vision is to help to bring about change in that area. So each of you we will be determining your need for change in the particular area that you're pursuing. Then you'll determine what objectives you're going to tie to that change, how you're going to measure it. And from those objectives, you're going to define the activities that are going to be necessary to achieve those objectives. And lastly, how you're going to monitor and report your impact in the context of stories and numbers. And so definition-wise, these are some of the things. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump past this slide and I'm going to move back. I'm going to move to the 5 point, and then I'll come back to these for definition. But so again, why is this important? The 5 points that I had on the screen a minute ago, and why is this theory of change important? The theory of change is important because it explains, as notated on the screen here, it explains the changes you hope to bring about or the outcomes for your beneficiaries, those individuals that are gonna be served and derive benefit from that impact of those activities that you're doing. And how do you intend to do those activities? So that's what this theory of change is. It should be transparent, and oftentimes it's expressed in a diagram, and I'll show you an example of that shortly. So these are the steps here in the process, and I'm gonna go back and forth and by way of definition. So this thing here are inputs. Inputs, as I said, is inputs are the resources that are deployed in the service, in service of a certain, achieving a certain set of activities, right? So as an example, if you're working with, let's say you're working with a group of youth who you want to use the arts, because this is what this is based on. Inputs would be the investments into that organization, the investments that would be needed to fund that organization, or the capital deployed. So this is the first step, is the inputs. The next one is the activities. And as you see, on inputs again, that would consist of staff's time, beneficiaries, and in the case of the example I use, the workshop materials you use and volunteers that you'll use to get the thing done. So we're talking about theory of change. What's process you're going to use to outline and define how this theory of change and ultimate impact looks that you're striving to accomplish and create. So the next thing from those inputs, you're going to do a set of activities. These activities are going to be with the group. It could be things such as creative writing, workshops, working with young people. And again, by definition, the activities are those actions or tasks that are performed in support of a specific impact or objectives. And as an example, these could be actions by an impact organization such as AMRE Finance, for example, campaigns. And this is sort of what we're doing right now we're giving these workshops to bring clients on to to inform clients that have come onto the platform. So this is one of the activities. These are some of the actions and tasks AMRE Finance is using as activities to deliver impact for our ultimately objective, which is to help you get funded, which is so that you can take your campaigns and make an impact in your community. So the next thing on the diagram here for the 5-point theory of change is outputs. And the output is defined as what's going to come from your efforts, what changes or effects on individuals or the environment that will follow from the delivery of the products and services that you're providing. So for instance, and you're going to articulate these in terms of short-term, a midterm, and long-term. But in this particular case here, this is an example that's showing this person had an outcome where they wanted to double the household income with the microfinance institutional clients. And so the way they were going to measure this, obviously, is income generated by those beneficiaries doing the impact capital, due to the impact capital. So these are the outcomes. This is all, again, talking about the 5 points in the theory of change: your inputs, your activities that you're going to do, the output, and the outcome of those activities. And lastly, to give you a definition of the outcome, let's go back to the outputs. So again, for example, you measure these in the number of young people that you work with, the number of workshops you deliver, and lastly, the outcomes. What do you ultimately hope to derive from this? What changes or effects on society or the environment? And these are some sort of like the outcomes. The difference here is the impact is more on a larger scale versus just individual, say, you're impacting one youth or two youth. The impact for the overall impact is for the broader environment or the whole impact organization. And it's going to ultimately play out and show up in a change in societal behavior or benefits. So those are the 5 points, and all these are going to fit into your mission here. And you're going to encapsulate these into your ultimate mission for what you're doing, your campaign. And this is part of the theory of change. So why is it important? This whole theory of change thing, it connects you again. I'm going to keep bringing this back up. It connects you to why you're doing what you're doing, what's driving you to do this, your raison d'etre, your reason for being, your Ikigai. So why is it important? It articulates what you hope to achieve and how. It helps to identify assumptions in your activities. It forms the basis for claims around attribution or outcomes. And it determines what change needs to be measured. It identifies or hypothesizes a rationales for causality, for why you're doing what you're doing. And the logic will appeal to your funders. In this case, we call them backers, and help in their funding decisions. So it's important that you keep it simple, the process here. And it's important that you use evidence, existing evidence. And it's important that you acknowledge any limitations or complexities. That's where we'll come in and help you to overcome those. So as an example, you might want to say, as far as keeping it simple, let's say you're going to do a school for youth who's been displaced due to this crisis that's taken place in Cameroon, or even the thing that Doreen was talking about. Before you do a large program, your whole campaign, you might want to start with a one-day or a weekend workshop. And this will allow you to get a feel for who the stakeholders need to be. And it'll allow you to begin to pull those stakeholders together and test them out in a trial basis, a one-day or a weekend basis. And you'll get a feel for what you need to do to refine that. So all of this is basically going to be a work in progress. You'll build up to the long-term goal of creating the school or creating the NGO that ultimately serves this community. So, and then you'll refine this along the way. You'll be able to identify your short-term, your long-term, mid-term goals. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. I'm going to give you an example that came from this particular process. And I talked about earlier that your theory of change is going to be expressed in a diagram or flow chart, excuse me. And remember, I talked about mission. So it all starts with your mission, your, again, Ikigai, your reason for being, your purpose for doing this. And ultimately, everybody's mission in some form or fashion is going to be sort of going toward improving, in this particular example, improving life chances of young people through theater. But overall, you're going to be improving the area in which you're trying to make an impact. And this mission is going to lead to some assumptive statements. In this case, working with children, youth offenders lack opportunity to engage with drama as a means to improve their soft skills. And this is assuming that if youth are engaged with drama exercises or plays, that will help to, just as we were talking about church, Doreen, this will help them to build up confidence and to become active citizens in society. So, this particular diagram outlines the activity. So you'll want to do yours the same way. Your mission, what's going to be the outcomes. I mean, the activities you're going to do, in this case, workshops, mentoring, how that's going to look. Remember, I said to start out, you could try a one-day workshop, but in this case, this is looking at the more long-term. This is the overall program that this individual is talking about putting together. One workshop per week, end of term production to see how things worked out, beneficiary self-evaluation, and mentoring programs weekly. Then you can express the outcomes in terms of short-term gains, a greater sense of routine for the beneficiaries, fewer exclusions amongst participants, medium-term and long-term. And you can see some of those expressed here. And we talked about some key assumptions that you'll want to articulate to your backers when you're putting your information up in the basic information when you first start putting your campaign on the website. So that's one example. I'm gonna give an example that is drawn from our own platform and some of the outcomes and you can see it's expressed a little bit different. It's not necessarily a flow chart, but it starts with our mission at the top here to address Africa's unique financial, socioeconomic inclusion challenges. And we talk about the activities that we're going to use to accomplish this. And again, all these things sound mechanical, they sound logical, but I can assure you that each individual involved, even though these are the specific activities we have to do, there is a social component, there is a heart-centered component that is tied to each one of our personal missions in life. And it's tied to our collective mission as a group. And I can assure you, when I say you want to do something that's going to cause you to want to jump out of bed in the morning, I tell you, many mornings, I wake up with the ideals of AMRE finance and how the impact is gonna help Africa. And also, as I told Jean-Paul when I came on board, the fate of Africa, as far as I'm concerned, is tied to my own genealogy. And so it makes sense that the fate of Africa ultimately affects long-term, and we're still sort of in the mid-game as far as I'm concerned. But I know from my own life experience, long-term, it's going to affect the well-being of the Africans in the diaspora, which includes what people refer to as African Americans. So here's some of our inputs, our outreach and business support, which is what we're doing on this call. Our platform and token development, which is ongoing. Our partnership is development, which is also ongoing. And then our outputs is, we intend to increase funds raised and increase enrollment and participation in the impact funding activities. We want to make this finance and these funds inexpensive and efficient as reliable impact funding services. And, we want to provide transparency for both the creators and the backers so that there is a symmetry in an understanding of how this thing's going to look. That's the transparency we talked about earlier. And then, like I said, we articulate long-term and short-term and long-term outcomes. So you could see this particular diagram looks a little bit different than this one, but there's some similarities. And ultimately, we're going to help you by providing you a blank template where you can just fill in the blanks here and be able to articulate yourself. Your impact yourself. So anyway, that's the theory of change piece of our incubation. And I'm going to wrap up now because we're nearing the end, coming up to the quarter hour, and I want to open it up to questions if there are any. So I'm going to run real briefly through these next few things, but all of these next few items, the market opportunities, business model, the economics and your team, all these come from your articulation of your theory of change. And now we get into the, the research that is needed, the market opportunity and the mechanics of doing this. So this market opportunity, this comes from you defining, you've expressed what your desire is in terms of your theory of change. Now to be able to articulate that to some investors, some backers, you want to make sure that that opportunity either is big enough market-wise relative to the dollar amount, and each one of these circles represent, billions of dollars market value, but we don't have to think in terms of billions. We can think in terms of thousands. We can think in terms of millions, but just know that the greater the opportunity, the market opportunity money-wise, the more appealing your campaign will look to backers and the more individuals will be willing to help. That doesn't mean that a campaign that's one to raise $5,000 or $10,000 should not be on the platform, and you shouldn't strive for that. Because at the end of the day, if it's gonna yield the impact, the said impact, then it's just as viable as any other campaign. So I want to be clear about that. So you want to articulate your market opportunity. And one of the things I want to point out that the higher you get in terms of the dollar amount, you got to know that the degree of competition is going to be fiercer in that area, and more people are going to be wanting to play in that arena because it's attractive, right? So like I said, if you're doing the 5,000 campaigns and you're down here in market area, it's still okay as long as you're effective in your delivery. The next item, business model. So a business model basically just describes the rationale of how, as an organization, or how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value. This centerpiece here, and this example I have on the screen is just one from a past client of mine. So this is how you capture value in an economic, social, cultural context. In this case, this was more of a economic and cultural context. So the process of business model construction, which is what this is and the modification of this along the way is what's called in business your business model innovation. So this is going to be ongoing. And as we get into the incubation process, meaning once you come onto the platform, put your campaign up there, and get everything verified, then we'll get into this shaping your business model. And this becomes part of your business strategy. In other words, it'll help you define your customer segments, to help you define your channels, how you're going to deliver this value here to these customers through which channels. And all of these are the activities we talked about earlier. The next step, or the last step in that three-pronged process over here under incubation, is you want to be able to articulate the economics of your plan, of your model. From a management perspective, you want to be able to identify and articulate the risk involved, come up with your pricing models, talk about why you're going to need this capital, what the production manufacturing procedures are. And again, all this is going to be captured under your campaign description when you first go onto the site. So, and of course, lastly, you want to put together a team. You're never going to be able to do any initiative, any enterprise just alone. No man or woman is an island unto themselves, right? So you're going to have to put together that team that's going to help you put this impact campaign together and make it successful. And so I want, even when you're putting your campaign description up, you need to talk about who your team are, talk about who you are, provide CV, resume, CVs. It doesn't have to be that extensive, just some bullet points on who your team members are and who your collaborators are, and tell us a little bit about their background. So that's it. This whole thing started with us talking about this Ikigai, the reason for living. Like I said, something that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning. It's the dream. It's who you are, the who and why of what you're doing every day, your theory of change. And it talks about the means, your how, the value proposition, economics. And then, again, the team that articulates who that is. And as I said, it becomes the sweet spot to your reason for being, your purpose in life. And it's the driver that causes you to want to focus on and work on your campaign, your project, day after day after day after day. And that's it, folks. That's the presentation. I'm going to open the floor up right now. I'll actually, Jean-Paul, I will turn it back over to you. I know you have some other business after this at the top of the hour, but I'm going to turn the floor back over to you. And I'm going to stop sharing and bring in the community here. So.
Thank you very much indeed, Henry, for that very insightful presentation. Yeah, I'm not going to waste time commenting a lot. It's just wonderful to have gone through all of that. Let me let creators of campaigns with whom we are hanging out on this session, if you have any questions or comments, this session is really about you. So the floor is yours. I can see Charles having a broad smile on his face. Charles, would you like to ask a question or say something? Let me unmute you so that you would have to unmute yourself, Charles. You are not unmuted. You would have to. I thought I could unmute you, but no, I've just signaled you to unmute yourself. We can't hear you, Charles. We can't hear you, I'm afraid. You have to unmute yourself. Look for the mic and click on it. Well, I think he also has connectivity problems. That's one of the biggest problems we're having with most of creators of campaigns, a lot of whom would like to join these sessions, but their connectivity, so unreliable. So Charles, go ahead. Yes.
Hello? Are you hearing me? Are you hearing? No. Oh.
We can hear you very well, Charles, so you can go ahead, please.
Okay. All right. What I was saying is, first of all, I want to ask you for with such an activity to help us. You gave us a checklist, which is very important. That is a proof of incorporation, taxpayers card, attestation of independence to tax authorities. Now, the question is, for number 10, that is localization plan approved by tax authorities. Now, some of us, we have gone to taxation, and taxation said that in 2007, they gave us a letter where we stopped paying tax because of the crisis. Schools 2017. Schools have not been going on since 2017, and we have not been paying taxes. So if we have to do this approval of this localization plan approved by tax authorities, it means we have to start paying tax, which they want to start paying tax fully for next year. What we do? But as for the taxpayer card, we have the taxpayer card. And we have a suspension letter for taxation since 2017. Hello?
Thank you very much, Charles, for the point you've made. I know the line wasn't very clear, so I think I'll just very quickly articulate it to everybody. Charles is saying that first of all, he's thanking us for taking him through in one of the previous sessions on the customer verification process, which is the second step in the sales cycle or the customer experience, right? And we shared a checklist of documents that need to be provided by creators of campaigns. One of the documents in there is the localization plan that has been certified by tax authorities. So he's saying the tax authorities say they cannot issue that document to him. For them to do, then he would have to pay taxes from 2017 to date.
Wow.
Right? He cannot pay taxes from 2017 to date because during that period there was crisis in that part of the country, and the institution which he's running was not operational. Okay, and he also went further by saying that in 2017 they issued the taxation authorities issued a kind of suspension letter, right, suspending the requirement for his institution to pay taxes. So I think the answer is a short and straightforward answer, Charles. The suspension letter will do. It will actually take the place of that the certification from taxation. What you'll need to do is just to make sure that you still have a localization diagram, okay, to which you attach that suspension letter from taxation. The suspension letter will also cover another document which we have asked, which is your non-indebtedness certificate from taxation. I don't know if the answer to my question is clear. Anyone who has that problem and you have anything from the taxation people confirming that you have been exempt from paying taxes for a certain period, just share the letter with us and we will use that to replace the specific documents in question. Okay, I know Charles is struggling with connectivity, so I'm not going to over-labor him by checking with him if he can hear me or not. I think he's quite in some remote area, I'm aware of that. Great, so Charles, if you can hear me, I hope I have been able to address your question. If not, we can always chat. You have my number, you have the creator WhatsApp forum where you can always drop a question in there, or you can even go in any of our social media websites. Charles is off, his network is not too good. Let's leave the floor open to any other creators of campaigns who are online right now with us for any questions or comments. If you'd like, with regards to the presentation on your purpose and its relationship with theory of change or any other subject that is of interest to you at this moment. Thank you. While we're waiting to hear, I'm sure some creators will think still formulating their questions. Henry, I have a question for you. I know that you actually are an IT engineer. That's where you actually started off your career, and you did a lot of business. You know, I know you actually grew quite to a very senior level in your career, had a lot of business in the state of Texas. But for some reason, today you're a business coach. You're looking to create impact in Africa through AMRE Finance. You know, can you talk to us a little bit about that pivot? Has it got something to do with your Ikigai? Would you say you found your Ikigai? And that's how it has played out in terms of a change in what you do in life?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Jean-Paul. Indeed, it does have a lot to do with my Ikigai, my purpose. Jean-Paul said I got my start in the IT world, the engineering. I was a double ET, engineer technology. I used to install electronic MRI system, CAT scan systems. I would always get these things designed, fixed, and up for the doctors to use. But and I did this for maybe 10 years. One day, quite frankly, I got tired of working with machines, and I wanted to work closer with people. And my heart was drawing me more to social issues in my own community, in my own life. I saw where a lot of people didn't have the same opportunity I had. My parents were able to put me through school, but I saw where a lot of people didn't have that opportunity. So I wanted to articulate, Jean-Paul, a path where others could, or help them to understand that there are other paths that one could take into getting into what you love to do versus just finding a job, just finding a way to make money. So we find that ultimately that when you connect with that which you love, that which is your purpose, it will inspire you to be more active, not just with the thing itself, but with all of the stakeholders involved. Even when times are up and down, you'll still have that passion to stay engaged because you know in the end it's going to impact the lives of a lot of individuals. So that's why I do what I do now.
Thank you very much indeed, Henry, for that. I think I just hope that it inspires others. I can tell you my story as well, but I know we are short of time. Maybe in our next hangout, I'll tell you my story and how I believe I found my Ikigai. I guess, Ed, I can tell you if I ask Ed the same question, he'll tell you his story. But since this is the creator hangout, I'd like to, I can see Doreen and Dr. Kabila still there. Doctor, would you like to say anything or comment at this point before we wrap up for today on the subject in relation to perhaps your campaign that has brought you to AMRE Finance? Not sure if it's a problem of microphone or connectivity, but just in case your microphone is not been unmuted and you'd like to unmute it, feel free to do so. Okay. Great. But I think that the question of purpose is such an important one. It is something which must be articulated in terms of being able to convince creators of campaigns. One of the critical things to do is to be able to tell your story, the connection of your personal life experiences and how that has played into you being involved in the kind of impact campaign or the community services that you're providing, or indeed any creative talent that you're trying to raise funds for. It is really powerful to see how that thing naturally sort of emerged out of you. That's the process of discovering your Ikigai, as Henry articulated much earlier. So this is not just about, it's not just a philosophical thing. It's something that's going to play in terms of your ability to raise funds, because the personal connection you have with your campaign and the impact it's creating solves at least a good chunk of the problem. Thank you. So, well, I don't know. I suspect that we may have to wrap up the call now since it's the top of the hour. I will just ask maybe Henry, Ed, or anyone else, Doreen, Doctor, if you'd like to say any final word, please do. Then Henry will, once Henry gives his own final word, then I'll wrap up the session. Ed, anything from you?
Yeah, JP, thank you. I think the whole point of purpose is so important. It's the reason why you wake up, you know, it's the reason why you burn the midnight oil to try and make sure that that campaign goes through. It's the reason why when you hit rock bottom, because every now and then, you know, we all do, you dust yourself up and you carry on, you know, going. And so it's so important to define that Ikigai. If you don't, then it's probably the reason why a lot of people do, you know, maybe walk away from their purpose. So for me, purpose is so key. You know, if anything else fails, the purpose has to be right. And it needs to be very well defined, because that's going to define everything else that you do.
That's true. Thank you very much, Ed. Anyone else? Dr. Kabila, Doreen? If
not much. It's a bit noisy here where I am, but thanks for the continuous engagement and efforts. Not much to comment about.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Yes, Doreen would be in the middle of church now, so she cannot say anything. Henry, final word from you?
Well, my final word, Jean-Paul, is that when I saw this word come up and it synchronistically, you posted it to our social media. I had seen a presentation the night before. It struck me, and it's something I've been living my life around, you know, since I made this decision back in 2009 or 10. So purpose, as Ed said, is crucial. You will have ups and downs in business. That's count on them, because that's what, when we're solving the problems of the world, the challenges of the world, you're necessarily going to be met with challenges within that greater challenge. So it's important to have a greater purpose for doing it that goes beyond money. So thank you for allowing me, Jean-Paul, to share this topic today. It's always stimulating to me to talk about it, and hopefully everyone gains something from it.
Indeed. Well, so Henry, thanks a lot. I can see one of our creators, Patricia, the founder of One Nanny. She has just posted on our creators WhatsApp group, thanking you for the wonderful presentation. She says that the connectivity wasn't good enough, so she kept on coming on and dropping off. She said there was quite a lot of material in there. She's going to have to go through the video again to digest it. But thank you so much indeed. You would have done a lot of research to come up with this, and your time and everything. Thank you everyone else for joining us today. Let's continue to engage, and see you again for the next session in exactly a week from now. Have a lovely rest of the day or evening, wherever you are.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks so much. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right.